He wasn't resisting. He wasn't fighting back. Just another man, face pressed against the cold pavement, with officers' knees digging into his back. To them, he was just another suspect, someone they thought they could humiliate without consequence. But in seconds, everything shifted. A badge slipped from his pocket. Not just any badge, but one that carried a rank they never expected. And in that frozen silence, the truth of their actions hung heavy in the air. What happens when power meets prejudice and gets exposed in front of the world? It was supposed to be a quiet night. Marcus Johnson, a decorated police chief with more than 2 decades of service, had just left his office after another long shift. His uniform was folded neatly in the back seat, his badge tucked inside his jacket pocket. Out here, without the stripes on his shoulders, he was just another man walking to his car under the flickering glow of the streetlights. Marcus had always carried himself with calm dignity, even off duty. He believed respect was earned through patience, fairness, and integrity. But none of that mattered to the shadows watching him from across the lot. A patrol car slowed. Then another. The sound of heavy boots echoed as officers stepped out, their flashlights slicing through the darkness. He barely noticed at first. His mind was still on the reports he'd signed, the phone call he had to make when he got home. But the silence around him grew colder, heavier. Like a storm waiting to break. This was the same city where he had worked to build bridges, where he had tried to train young officers to see people, not suspects. Yet tonight, he was about to discover how fragile those bridges really were, because to these officers, in this moment, he wasn't a chief. He wasn't even a man with a story. He was just a black figure in the night, and that was enough for suspicion to turn into something far more dangerous. The first command cut through the night like a blade. "Hey, stop right there." Marcus froze, the keys to his car dangling in his hand. The beam of a flashlight blinded him, catching the glint of sweat on his forehead. His heartbeat quickened, not because he had done anything wrong, but because he had seen this scene play out too many times, usually from the other side, when he was the one in uniform, hands where we can see them. Another voice barked. Heavy boots crunched against the gravel as 2 more officers closed in. The sharp edge in their tone carried no room for explanation, no space for dignity. Marcus slowly raised his hands. His badge pressed against his chest inside his pocket, a silent reminder of the life he had dedicated to keeping the law fair, balanced, humane. But right now, none of that mattered. To them, he was just a black man in a dimly lit lot. "What are you doing out here?" one officer demanded. "I'm heading home," Marcus replied evenly. "Don't lie to us," another snapped. "You were lurking, suspicious." The words landed like accusations carved in stone, impossible to wash away. Marcus felt the old, familiar knot in his stomach tighten, not fear for his safety alone, but fear for what this moment represented. He had spent years preaching restraint, urging young recruits to judge actions, not appearances. Yet here they were, proving how fragile those lessons were once prejudice took control. "Get on the ground." The officer shouted. Before Marcus could move, rough hands grabbed him, twisting his arm behind his back. His cheek hit the pavement with a crack that made his vision blur. Gravel dug into his skin. A knee pressed against his ribs, heavy and unrelenting. "Please," Marcus said, his voice muffled. "I'm not resisting. Stay down." Came the response, louder, harsher, as if his calm words were an insult. The world around him blurred, the sound of traffic in the distance, the faint hum of streetlights, and the crushing weight of reality. He wasn't just being restrained. He was being erased, stripped of identity, reduced to a body on the ground. Then, silence. A pause too heavy to ignore. The flashlight beam had caught something that slipped from his pocket when they forced him down. A badge, shiny, official, unmistakable. One officer's hand hovered midair, frozen. Another's grip loosened slightly, confusion flickering across his face. The third stepped back, eyes wide as recognition sank in. Marcus remained on the ground, his breath sharp, his dignity bruised. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He let the silence weigh on them instead. Because in that moment, it wasn't just about what they had done to him, it was about what they had exposed in themselves. And deep down, Marcus knew this was only the beginning. The real test was about to start. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The badge glinted under the streetlight, lying inches from Marcus's hand. The same badge they had sworn to respect, the same badge they had sworn to follow. The officer pressing his knee into Marcus's ribs hesitated. His breathing grew heavy, ragged. The others exchanged quick glances, their confidence unraveling. The silence was louder than any siren. Wait. What is this? One of them muttered, picking up the badge with trembling fingers. He turned it over, eyes widening as he read the name engraved. Chief Marcus Johnson. The weight of their mistake crushed the air. The man they had just slammed to the ground wasn't a stranger, wasn't a suspect, wasn't someone they could write off in a report. He was their superior, the leader of the department, the very man responsible for their training, their discipline, their careers. Marcus slowly pushed himself up, his face streaked with dust and humiliation. He didn't shout. He didn't curse. He simply looked at them, his eyes steady, burning with a quiet fury that no words could match. Do you see me now? His voice was low, steady, like a gavel striking the courtroom. The officers shifted uncomfortably, their arrogance crumbling into shame. The power dynamic flipped in an instant. Where moments ago they felt untouchable, now they stood exposed, fragile in the glare of truth. One officer tried to stammer an excuse. Chief, we didn't know. We thought. You thought wrong? Marcus cut him off, his tone sharp enough to slice through the night. Around them, a small crowd had gathered. Phones were out, recording every second. The same streets where Marcus once worked to build trust were now witnessing betrayal by his own men. And as the videos captured the scene, Marcus knew this wasn't just about him anymore. This was about every badge, every uniform, every shadowed corner where judgment turned to violence. The climax wasn't the moment he was thrown down. It was the moment the world would see who did it, and wide out the cameras kept rolling, and the silence grew unbearable. 3 officers stood pale and trembling, their authority shattered under the glow of streetlights and cell phones. No policy, no excuse could erase what had already been witnessed, the raw truth that prejudice had spoken louder than duty. Marcus straightened his jacket, brushing the dust from his clothes with slow, deliberate movements. His ribs still ached, his skin still burned where gravel had scraped it, but his voice remained steady. This, he said quietly, scanning their faces, is why people don't trust us. Not because of the badge, but because of the men who wear it without honor, the crowd murmured, their phones held higher, capturing not just a confrontation but a reckoning. The officers looked down, ashamed, knowing this moment would follow them far beyond tonight. Marcus didn't demand an apology. He didn't need one. The weight of their silence was confession enough. He turned, picked up his badge from the officer's hand, and held it firmly. For years he had carried it as a symbol of justice. Tonight it was a reminder of how fragile that justice could be. As he walked away, the murmurs turned into whispers, and whispers into questions. Questions that would spread across the city, questions that no press release or polished statement could silence, because this wasn't just about Marcus Johnson. This was about a system that could throw even its own chief onto the ground because of the color of his skin. And as the video made its way online, reaching millions, one haunting truth remained. If this could happen to him, what hope did ordinary people have? So the question lingers, how many more badges, how many more lives before the world finally listens?